Something you might have waited for a long time. Sim update number 1. Keep in mind, this is the beta. In this video, we're gonna look at what's included in the fixes, so let's roll the intro and let's get started. So the first beta release of Sim update number 1 is there. It bumps up the version to 1.3.7.0. That's really cool, right? And there are some disclaimers, of course, that you need to move out the stuff out of your community folder, etc. But that's known for everybody. And let's see what has been fixed, because there's more, right? So first of all, if we look at the stability and performance section, there are multiple fixes for rare crashes during airport generation, but also there's a fix, a crash when you use the skip to feature, right? At the beginning of an exam, for example, skip to the runway because you don't want to do the taxi part. There's a fix, a potential crash when switching on and off the VR mode. I don't have VR, so I can't say deny or can't confirm if that's an issue. And they renamed the bandwidth to download speed in the flight, in the FPS debug panel for clarity. This is likely something for developers, not really for normal simmers, because you will need to enable the developer mode. Then they optimize the texture and memory usage of the WASM gouges. That's the gouges, right, which you see on all the aircrafts. They're using the WASM, which is the, let's say, framework under the gouges. And there was some memory usage, which was a concern for some of the developers already. Some of them called it out already, and that has now been fixed. And there's a fix for a crash when closing the game during package mounting. Then if we look at the general bug fixes section, there's more, right? First of all, the controller was losing inputs if the user went into the filters. Advanced map layers leaves the sub menu, then go back in it. Not sure what they meant with this, but it looks like that you will lose the controllers, which means the controller bindings. Then they fixed an issue where the world map filter layers would sometimes soft lock the user when going into another page. And there was an issue with the community packages, preventing stream packages with the same name from being found by the sim. So this is kind of weird, right? Because why would a community package have the same name as a stream package? I don't know, but likely there was an issue with that. I would say then someone needs to look at their naming convention, because they shouldn't use or reuse the names which Asobo and Microsoft are using. Then there were issues with where the UI render issues outside of the frame, right? So out of the frame that you can't see it, and the camera lock no longer forces the cockpit view when opened. So you can now say move to different modes as it looks like. So I'm not sure if this is really a bug. It looks like it's based on the description, right? But that's good. Then also some other fixes, the clock hours, minutes in the events not behaving as expected, right? That's the, I would say, clock which is descending. So it shows you the time which you've got available yet for the events. That's being fixed. And several time-related issues, such as the Zulu clock set events not behaving as expected. Real time instead of flight time when initializing the switches, right? Fixes slight issues when starting a flight with the sim time that is different from real time. And they fix community packages being duplicated inside the content.xml on each boot. And that would result, of course, in an enormous XML file, which you don't want to have. And this, I would say, will be done as it looks like. So cleaning up also that file, I meant to that. Then there's increased screen exposure on a heavy cloud cover. There was also an issue with that. That's now fixed. Backwards compatibility bug fixes, also important, right? First of all, they fixed the wrong font selected when rendering the XML gouge elements, right? That's what I talked about, right? The gouges are using a framework. One of those files is the XML, and there were some issues with the font being selected. Then they forced the 2024 Zimvar ambient light sensor to return a very high value if required from 2020 sim. This likely has to do with if you're importing a 2020 aircraft and then using it in 2024. Then there were some issues with the ambient light sensor, which was, let's say, not that high and sometimes really hard to see. They fixed an issue with that, which should now resolve that. And they fixed the textures referenced in the FX files not properly loaded when a package is streamed. This likely has to do only with the streamed aircraft, right? Not with the community ones. And then there was the emissiveness brightness fixes. So multiple brightness fixes. Then moving on to the airport core system. And you see, we've got a long list to go because there are multiple fixes in this category. So first of all, there's a view system. There's a fixed issue causing some aircraft to start with zero view. I haven't experienced myself, to be honest. And then moving on to the glass cockpits, they fixed the airport icon on the MFD being displayed and as a dot instead of an aircraft. And for the Alex 9070, there was a fix where the cockpit was broken in UI when flying the DG1001. Physics, there were some helicopter issues. That's also now fixed with the CFD rotor wash aerodynamics issues on edges on platforms. And the EFB contains a fix with a status bar daytime being UTC -1 instead of UTC. Also a nice fix. Moving on to the career mode. Career mode already caused a lot of issues with some people, missions disappearing. There was an interim hotfix, but looks like that they now are fixing more things. First of all, the general bug fixes. They fixed an issue where the mission was not starting at the date and time indicated in the briefing. And they fixed an unexpected server errors, multiple ones, when playing a mission at midnight, but also when you're playing after quickly activating and removing active polls. That was also causing some issues, right? So two fixes. One, if you're playing around midnight, you can now do that safely. And the other one, simply you can now actively pause and unpause. Then they also disabled the skip phase button while in active pulse, right? So this button is now disabled. Then the missions. First of all, the descriptions in some cases were wrong for the rotor brake activation. That's now being fixed. Also, the fixed step announced a clear runway that prevented the player from reaching the maximum score has now been fixed. In some cases, right, where you, let's say, were running on the runway, especially with the grass ones, I saw this, you sometimes get, let's say, points being deducted because you are, let's say, breaching something, which was not the case. That's now being fixed. As well as that they removed the ATC step asking to contact the tower at arrival if there's no control tower. Makes sense, right? Because why should you ask the control tower if there's no control tower? Then they also fixed an issue with ATC steps no longer completing if the player exited the aircraft after turning the engine on. It's also good. And they fixed the multiple textual mistakes throughout career and certifications. So a lot of interesting fixes for the missions. But there are also some specific mission fixes, such as the agricultural aviation, where they fixed issues when you use the agricultural aviation were sometimes covered by trees. Well, not very handy. And the MEDEVAC, they fixed the mission flow, not continuing where the ATC was speaking at the same time as the medical crew before the patient check. So this was all kind of overlap between the ATC and the medical crew. Last in this category, they fixed the retract landing gears steps appearing during descent phase. So that's also done. Then if we're looking at missions, there also, of course, are certifications. So let's see what has been fixed in that category. Well, not too much, to be honest. One is that the commercial pilot license for the rotorcraft. They fixed an issue where you could get stuck after hard landing if skids were broken. Well, it makes sense, right? Then you shouldn't land too hard because that's, let's say, the ID. And the IFR, the instrument rating, they fixed the aviator performance when landing on the right runway, and they fixed an issue with CDI on and transponder not configured properly. This was one I indeed also had during an exam, but I would say you can easily fix it if you know where the transponder is and if you know how to switch to the CDI. Then there are some online fixes. First of all, they fixed a French plane that sometimes does not appear on the world map. This is, of course, only happening when you're playing in multiplayer, right? That was the only fix for that one. Then if we look at the world, well, first of all, they removed the giant trees from corrupted tin areas. That's what, let's say, a lot of people reported. There were sometimes trees which were so high, which was unrealistic. Well, they now should be gone. And they fixed a few cases introducing blur in aerials. So the blurring is now gone. Airports also received some fixes. The airport lights not supporting multiple mesh or rotation or route orientation, and the strobe pole rotation is also fixed. Some airport lights spawning with flare but without mesh support is also now being fixed. I'm not sure if these fixes also support the really high brightness on some of the airports, because that was what some people reported. So let's see. Then we're going to the My Library. So there are a few things which are now fixed. First of all, if you are a user who enabled a content in My Library, the content is now automatically activated and visible in the game without the need of the reboot. That's good. So previously you need to enable it, then reboot the sim, and then it will be activated. Now that can be done without rebooting. Then they also added a pop-up with the loading gauge to feedback on activation deactivation, because it was kind of, say, shady, right? Because if you clicked it, then sometimes even the sim froze and then it unfroze and then it was activated. They now added, I would say, a gauge which shows you, okay, how far it is. Then they swapped from Flight Simulator 2024 item to 2020 legacy item, and there was an issue with that when you switched between them. And they added the not creator approved information when a Flight Simulator 2020, and they fixed an issue called now the not creator approved information for Flight Simulator 2020 content, because there might be some content which is available for you but not has been approved yet by the creator. Now you will be able to see that. Then, besides that, there are some fixes with several joystick navigation issues. The screen reader was not reading all the tags. They fixed the sorting, the filtering, and then improved and fixed some localization issues, which means language. Then going to peripherals, my favorite category. And you will find a lot of videos about that, right? So 4 items fixed here. First of all, the placeholder image is now being fixed. In some cases, there was a wrong placeholder with the wrong controller. Also, to fix the rotor trim map to the wrong POV in some helicopters, default profiles. That's only applicable to the default profiles, so not if you create a custom profile to fix it. And they fixed the inverted left-right brake issues, which triggered 100% brake application. And that's not what you want, because then you're with your forehead through the glass. Last item, they fixed the inconsistent menu mapping for help pages. Then if we're going to the activities, there were also some fixes in that one. 4 in total for training and 5 in total for free flight. For the training, there were fixes for the textual mistakes in the helicopter pedals training. And they also fixed an issue with the engine detent notification to the airliner landing training. So for those who are really far already with Flight Simulator, some good news, because if you are in those sections, in those trainings, that's now being fixed. Also, they fixed the score and flow of the IFR RNF training, which was 100% perfect. And the last thing is the multiple textual issues throughout the helicopter training set. So the helicopter training set received most updates. Free flight. So they made some changes. So the search bar in the free flight aircraft selection screen now uses keywords from all the variants of each aircraft model, which makes it really cool. And they fixed some flight condition where they're live always available, right? So you can always select that. Besides that, they also fixed an issue with the live player only available when the player is in a lifetime weather. That's based on this, that's a requirement. And they fixed an issue with the buffered live weather, even if the custom preset weather. So they are buffering the live weather for some reason. Last one is the pilot can now use server UTC live weather with any date. So any date means, I would say any date or not. Well, kind of would say fuzzy, right? But could be. In addition to that, there are multiple, I would say, developer fixes, right? But I'm not going to them, as you know, because that's for developers. But as you can see, there are multiple fixes, including, let's say, a lot of fixes for the gauges, but also for the WASM models, which will hopefully help developers bring their aircrafts to Flight Simulator 2024 so we can all enjoy them. Now, the next question is, how can you join the beta? Well, what you need to do is you need to install the Xbox Insider app, right? So I already installed it. But if you don't have, you can simply go to your store. And in the store, you will search for Xbox Insider. And then you can search for Insider Hub. It will likely pop up this application, and then you simply click on install, and then you have it installed. So once this has been installed, you can also open the hub, right? So go to the Xbox Insider Hub. And what you need to do there is wait until it has loaded, and then you can go to either the announcements, but also to the preview section. Because in the preview section, that's where you will find Flight Simulator. You would see it in the available one. So if you see it over here, like I do, you can say, okay, hey, I want to join. And if you joined it, then you will get this window. It says pending, and after some time it says, okay, hey, I've completed. And in some cases, what's really wise to do is reboot your machine and then check if the update is there. Because what I saw also with Flight Simulator 2020 is that in some scenarios the update isn't there, and then or it isn't yet joined the beta, and then you might think, hey, you're joining the beta. Well, you actually didn't do. So make sure that you reboot the Flight Simulator after doing this, because it's expected that it will find an update and will make you aware of that. So as you can see, it's currently in pending state. This might take some time. Don't be, I would say, too worried about this. It eventually will join. After that, again, reboot your machine and you should be good to go. As you can see, I've now been allowed, which is good. And then simply reboot the machine, start Flight Simulator, and then enjoy Flight Simulator 2024 using Beta 1. And don't forget to always report issues, right? So that's also something. So if you join the beta, this is the beta news category, but you also see the beta discussion where you can report issues. So please do that. Please use the surveys to also provide feedback and make sure that you are, I would say, reporting the issues in the correct section, right? Because that helps Asobo and Microsoft fixing all the issues which you experience in Flight Simulator 2024. Keep in mind this is the beta version, so there could still be issues in it because some issues have or might not have been fixed. But I would say I would expect that some more items will be added in the near beta versions which they're gonna release. Here ends this video. Hope you liked it. If you liked it, then don't forget to hit the like button. And I wish you a nice day and hope to see you back next time for a new video.